Okay, so Bitcoin has been on an absolutely wild ride. And if you blink this past weekend, you might be scratching your head right now. We saw some truly dramatic price action, some of the best in months. But was it even real? Let's dive in and investigate what really went down. I mean, on the surface, this looked amazing, right? Bitcoin prints a brand new all-time high, $125,700. You could almost hear the champagne corks popping. But hold on a second. The price almost immediately reversed, leaving everyone asking the same question. Was that move for real?
And that's the big mystery here. Weekends in crypto are normally kind of sleepy, pretty flat, but this was the best weekend performance we've seen in 4 whole months. So to figure out if this was a genuine breakout or something a little more suspicious, we need to put on our detective hats and start following the clues.
All right, so our first clue, it's not about what people were actually buying. No, it's about what they were betting on. The real story, the first piece of the puzzle, is hiding in the futures market, and this is where things get really, really interesting. Now, before we dig into the evidence, we got to get one key term down: open interest. Just think of it as the total amount of money in all the active bets on Bitcoin's future price. When that number goes up, it means more money is flooding into the speculative side of the market. It's kind of like a hype meter. Okay, so with that in mind, get a load of this number. During that weekend price pump, open interest didn't just go up, it absolutely exploded. It jumped by over $2.1 billion. That is a massive wave of money betting on the price, not necessarily buying the coin itself.
So here's why this matters so much. This whole move was driven by futures, by bets. That 5% jump in open interest happened over a weekend, which is a time when there are way fewer buyers and sellers around, what we call low liquidity. And what happens when you have a ton of speculative bets in a really quiet market? The whole thing becomes incredibly fragile. It's like a house of cards, ready to fall over at the slightest touch. And that fragility brings us straight to our second clue, which is just as important. For a move like this to stick, you need real buyers to show up and build a solid floor underneath the price. But when we look for them, well, they were nowhere to be found. It's like they just vanished.
Man, this comparison right here tells you everything you need to know. Earlier in the week, there was a ton of buying pressure, especially over on Coinbase. The price there was $110 higher than other exchanges, which means real buyers were aggressively snapping up Bitcoin. But during that big weekend push, poof! That support was completely gone. The premium disappeared. And this is the real kicker, the very foundation of support from actual buyers. The thing that was holding the market up just evaporated right when it mattered most. The gamblers were placing their bets, but the investors, the people actually buying Bitcoin, they were sitting this one out.
Okay, so let's put the pieces together. We've got our 2 big clues: a super fragile move built entirely on bets, and a complete lack of real buying support. When you lay out the evidence like that, the verdict becomes pretty darn clear.
So what do we call this thing? What was this big, dramatic push to a new all-time high really all about if it wasn't genuine strength? Well, the analysis here is blunt. You can call it a fakeout, you can call it a swing failure pattern, or you can even call it the head of a head and shoulders pattern. These are all just fancy technical terms for the exact same thing. It was a trap. A move that was designed to look like the real deal, but had absolutely no substance behind it. And get this, after all that drama, after that roller coaster ride, where's the price now? It's fallen right back down to where the whole move started. It's literally back at the scene of the crime, staring that critical resistance level right in the face again. Okay, so this is where it all leads. The most important question is, what happens next? Because right now, the entire market is laser-focused on one single deciding line in the sand. And that line is $123,000. Remember that number. This is the level. This is the price that is going to tell us whether the bulls or the bears take control from here. Everything, I mean everything, hangs on what Bitcoin does at this exact spot. So you've got 2 clear paths forward from here. On the bull side, what we need to see is a strong, confident close above that 123K mark. That would signal acceptance. It would mean the market is ready to make that the new floor and a true breakout is probably coming. But if the price gets rejected here, the bears are back in charge, and we're likely headed down to that first target around 117.5. And here's a little piece of market wisdom you gotta keep in mind. Fakeouts don't usually happen twice in a row. The market played its tricks once. The second attempt to break a level like this is very often the real deal, one way or the other. And that makes what's happening right now even more high stakes.
All right, so let's just quickly recap our whole investigation. That weekend pump, it was all futures-fueled hype, with no real spot buyers behind it. That low weekend liquidity made the whole thing super fragile. And the strong Coinbase support we had before? Gone. So now it all comes down to one number, $123,000. That's the battle line between a real breakout and a nasty pullback.
So here we are, right on a knife's edge. The clues told us the last move was a trap. The big question now is whether this next move will be the real one. The entire market is holding its breath, and there's only one question left to answer: breakout or pullback?